This is a Jmix exclusive.
Hello, welcome everybody to the show. Mr. RJ Bond is here.
What up,
And
everybody? Yo, yo, yo.
I'm going to do some shout outs. JM Kazi in the house, player, Yeezy 808, Angela Cruz. Am I saying that right? Dirty Dialect. DJ
Angelica.
Gary's always our mod that is in charge. Don't disrespect DJ Gary. Bobby Johnson. And Loose Cannon 88, if I didn't say it before. How's your night going, RJ?
It's going good, man. And please forgive, my throat's a little bit raspy today. I'm talking a little rough. Came out of a cold from last week. So just want to give a shout out to everybody. Loose Cannon 88. Sup? What's happening? Band Store, welcome to the show. Meme Star, you know the rules. This is your first time on the show. Make an announce on the chat board. That's your first time. We'll give you a shout out and welcome you to the family. Always make sure of that. So anyway, hey, check it out. This is our end of year annual review show. First edition, I guess, because this is the first one we've done, right?
Yeah,
so
it is.
It's our end of year spectacular, where we talk about all things Tupac, all things death row. We keep it real. We stick to the truth. We don't entertain the rumors. Well, we entertain them because we find them to be entertaining, right? And then we're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff today. This is the year review. So what we're going to do is go kind of month by month here, and we're going to talk about the things that happened, and we'll get some chat back from you all about it. Stick around, and we'll see if we can start shit up. All right. So we're going to start in January of 2017. Let's jump in the Wayback Machine. Dun, dun, dun. And go to January 2017, where that was the start of our Tupac year. And again, this is the year in review as it pertains to Tupac. About January 18th, there was a movie that was announced that was going to come out. And it was the biopic that everybody had been waiting for, Jess. Wasn't that the big news? That the biopic, All Eyes on Me, was going to come out? And it was January when they finally announced its release date. You know, most movies, they get the release date like 2 years in advance. You know, before they even kind of start making it, you kind of know when it's going to come out. Like Star Wars, you know, it's going to be like 2 years from now, and they said a date in like 2020 or something like that, and you never know. You know, it's like, am I going to be around when that comes out? I don't even know. You know, how old am I going to be? I have to always do the math, but they know in advance. This movie, man, they didn't know until January before June. They knew 6 months in advance when they were going to put it out, and I guess that was because they finally got a Lionsgate. It says Lionsgate. It's Lionsgate was the distributor for that. We found that out. That was in January. Let's see, what else?
And I'll tell you what, that when it comes to the movie, man, people have big expectations for it. There was a huge internet buzz around it. It almost seemed like the movie was too big to fail. And we'll get into the numbers and everything later, but it was a kind of a disappointment for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, greetings from Hamilton, Ontario, man. I don't even know where Hamilton, Ontario is. I mean, I know where Ontario is, but I don't know where Hamilton, Ontario is. Is that like the north part of Ontario? Lit us up. Tell us where everybody is. And welcome to the show, too, by the way. Wrong Way Security. Welcome to the show. Great name. I support your company. I hope you're the security company that takes over for Death Row. All right. Now, it looks like the next thing we have is that love letter from Tupac. You remember that one? Was that
the one with the panties?
Madonna?
Is that the one with the panties?
I think so. That was the one with the dirty panties in it, which shows you that, you know, as a lesson learned there, that even dirty panties get better press than the Outlaws do.
Oh, zing.
So, yeah. So then all of a sudden, then Benny Boom, who was he again?
He's a music video director.
Didn't he do All Eyes on Me? I think Benny Boone or Benny Boom.
Yes, he did. He's when John Singleton dropped out. Apparently, there was some issues with John Singleton. Now, there's conflicting stories on it. Some people, the Outlaws, have claimed that Singleton wanted to put a scene in the movie and was going to depict Afeni as a lesbian. So he was dropped from the movie. I think he left, to be honest with you. And he was replaced with a music video director named Benny Boom. Now, since then, the script has leaked for the John Singleton version of the movie. And the scene that the Outlaws claims were in there actually wasn't a scene at all. It was just a scene where Tupac got rushed in the library by a bunch of different dudes.
Yeah. So I think that All Eyes on Me was a good-looking movie. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this says Benny Boom was planning to tell a story of Haitian Jack. And that was January 2017. And last year, you heard shit about that?
I haven't heard anything about that. Actually,
Crickets?
I DM'd Haitian Jack because he was a viewer on the channel for quite some time. And he
Yeah.
said that a project was coming, and this was before the announcement. Because I asked him for an interview, and he said as soon as a project was done that he would do so. So I haven't heard anything about it since. The only time I've seen Haitian Jack is when he showed up in Fox's special.
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is typical Hollywood. They always say it's coming and going. Look at the biopic: start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. You never know about that. But those are the three big things that came out from January. The love letter from Tupac Shakur from prison. Benny Boom talking about coming out there. January was just not a huge month in the world of Tupac. So let's see what else we got there.
But I tell you what, this has been a huge year for someone who's been dead over 20 years. And he's made more headlines than the Outlaws.
He did. That's right. Once again, yet showing that even a dead Tupac can do better than the live Outlaws can. All right, so let's move on to February 2017.
In February 2017, the bullet-ridden 1996 BMW 750iL was restored, which a lot of fans were upset about, and it made it to auction. The asking price was $1.5 million. Now, what they did with this BMW is they actually filled all the bullet holes and restored all the interior. So that was kind of a misstep on their part, where there was a lot of backlash from it. RJ, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, who wants a 1996 BMW if it doesn't have any holes in it? You're gonna drive around, and here's the thing about it: if it's all fixed up, who's gonna believe you anyway? I mean, I can go get a 1996 BMW, drive around, and say that's the car that Tupac got shot in, and it's like, well, can you prove that? How? Well, you can go run the number, run the DMV plate right in front of them. Here, I can prove it. See, here it is. If you don't have the bullet holes in it, or don't have some, I don't know, something to make it official. You and I have seen that Bonnie and Clyde death car. I mean, that car is like bullet ridden, and that was very cool.
Yeah, I think it was a huge mistake by whoever bought it to fix it up and repair it, because then you can't sell it as the death car. Like you said, it makes it no different than any other BMW 750iL from 1996.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, like I said, the problem with you buy a car, you spend all $1.5 million on that car, and nobody's going to believe it anyway. It ain't like you're going to get driving down the street in a 1996 BMW. People are going to be like, oh, is that the Tupac death car? Oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked. No, it doesn't work like that at all. Then the big news came in February. USA Network announced that they're going to have a show and a pilot called Unsolved, which will examine the murders of rap legends Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur, with Josh Duhamel. I think wasn't he in Transformers or something?
He was. He was.
Yeah,
he was also in a soap opera a long time ago. He's more of a famous soap star.
Is he really? Yeah, okay. And then there's Bokeem Woodbine, who, should be ashamed of himself. And then Jimmy Simpson, who is known for playing nut jobs, playing the part of Russell Poole in the television show. So I have big hopes for this show. I hear that it's done and it's supposed to debut in, February, I think, of next year? Somebody asked that question, so figured I'd get it out there.
Did you see that they actually changed from a scripted show, and they had changed it? Now it's a limited series. So their whole scripted show has now been demoted to a limited series, which basically means a small miniseries run.
Yeah, I mean, it's a work of fiction that should be, called that, and that's all it should be. I mean, there's not going to be an ounce of truth to it at all, and and it's going to be great. It's really disappointing to everybody but the people who are being portrayed in it, and we won't mention those names, but that's the only people that's really going to take any pleasure out of it. Everybody else is going to feel ripped off, because what do you expect from a television show about people that can't do their job? It's called Unsolved.
Do you think the writers got smart and were like, yeah, how are we supposed to make a televised series out of a failed investigation?
Right. Well, and the thing about it, and this is what you're going to see, to be honest with you, and guys out there, this is the truth. You think I'm a conspiracy theorist? Wait till you watch the show Unsolved. Watch how many people and how many events are going to happen to keep Greg Kading from solving this investigation. And you think I'm a conspiracy theorist? The only thing you're not going to see in the show is the cigarette smoking man, because he's over on the X-Files. So if you want to watch a good show, watch that. That starts in January. It's a better show. But then, I mean, when you talk about conspiracy theories, and they call you and me conspiracy theorists, I mean, this show's going to have nothing but excuses and people to blame for why Greg Kading and his task force just couldn't get the job done. You know, that's it. So that's, you know, that's what I think it's all about. And yeah, I agree. Liz Can 88. USA Network doesn't care about Tupac or the truth. They care about ratings because that's what they get. You know.
Because if you notice the Oxygen Network, when they did their little piece, that piece that they did was it was just a promo for the Unsolved show, because USA and Oxygen are under the same umbrella. So they're trying to introduce Tupac to an audience like the housewife audience that have no idea who Tupac is. And they're trying to introduce him to the USA audience. Well, the USA audience is not exactly urban. We'll just put it that way. So what this is a watered-down, distilled shows for suburban housewives.
And I got news for you. USA gets worse networks than A&E. If A&E can't pull off a biography show, they only get 500,000 viewers. The USA show, I don't give it a lot of really good, you know, a lot of high hopes. But, you know, hey, they're going to get it and get it off, and we'll see how it goes. All right. So the last thing of February 2017 was that Mouton Beal, who had converted to Islam sometime prior to February 2017, had left his previous life in the United States and headed to Saudi Arabia, where he now sells coffee.
Well, I'm sure the coffee truck that he has does better than the rest of the outlaws.
Well, again, get a job.
Sorry, it's the end of the year, guys, and look, I'm not Charlemagne, but if I had to do a donkey of the year would go to the Outlaws, and everybody knows it. I mean, there's been countless YouTube channels of Gonzo and people just going off left and right this year, and the donkeys of this year are in fact the Outlaws. So if you're fans of the Outlaws, just going to give you a little advance warning, not going to be friendly to the Outlaws on here. This is not an Outlaws channel. So if you're sensitive to the Outlaws, you might want to.
If you're sensitive to the Outlaws, go watch the Has Been channel. I think that's the Has Been YouTube channel. I got launched by the greatest rapper that ever lived and couldn't do anything with it channel. So there's that. Now, all right. So now we're into March. You want to throw March up there? March was actually a pretty good month, because that was the month that Snoop Dogg decided that he was going to induct Tupac Shakur into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, it's interesting that they picked Snoop Dogg to, I actually thought that word was indict the late rapper Tupac Shakur. He decided he was going to induct the late rapper Tupac Shakur into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, what do you guys think about that, about Tupac being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Shouldn't they have like a hip hop Hall of Fame? And
speaking of Snoop, introducing Tupac into the Hall of Fame, a funny anecdote. That story, when he inducts Tupac into the Hall of Fame, he never told that story before. And then he, in that speech that he gave, that was very self-grandizing, because he said the one moment alone he had with Pac in Cabo San Lucas, Pac told him, you know, I see great things in you. That seems a bit self-serving. And then he tells the story of how Afeni in the hospital was, you know, he had to hold her up, and that he had told a different version of events.
Snoop Dogg's like the skinny, he's like a stick. He's like a stick with braids on the top. Like he's going to hold anybody up. The wind blows the wrong way and he gets knocked over. I mean, that's how slight this dude is. And, you know, Lafini, he's going to hold up anybody. I don't think Snoop can hold up himself much as anybody else. So, yeah.
And to be honest with you, the Snoop, DPG, and Tupac beef is something that I don't dig too deep into. But if you're looking for someone who does, Jesse over at Controversy Radio just put out their they have a project over there. I always forget the name when I'm trying to say it live, but they have a project over there, and I've seen it. They sent me an advance copy. So anybody that wants to know more about the beef between Snoop and Tupac, go check out Jesse at Controversy Radio and their new project, because I'm in it and it's dope.
So, all right, but back to March of 2017. Next thing that we see happen in March 2017 was that Tupac put the lyrics for Dear Mama came out, $25,000 per sheet. That's a lot of damn money for some lyrics written down on a piece of paper. I'm guessing they were actually the original, right? And
Yeah.
it was
And
1995 song.
Tupac, here's the funniest thing
I
about
wonder
this.
what Kill Kill thinks about that. I wonder what they'd sell Kill Kills for, Mama Dear.
Uh, so, yeah, Mama Dear, the song that he claimed that Tupac stole from him. But
Okay.
it's
It was
what's funny about these lyrics going up for sale is Nina Bradswire, who worked at Death Row's website and did their magazine. She was digging his lyrics out of the trash. He would throw them away. So all these lyrics are probably pieces of trash or something that he just left sitting where they were. Tupac didn't really care much about his lyrics, and you can find story after story of this. So it's funny that something that he probably threw away is worth $25,000 a page. But that
Oh,
is
yeah.
the power that Tupac still has all these years later.
March 2017. Drugs as a Weapon Against Us by our friend John Potash, who lifted the lid on claims that Tupac was a target because he was politicizing black street gangs in the United States. The book claimed that American intelligence agencies were worried about gangs or the more political outlook and saw Tupac at the forefront of the movement. In other words, Tupac was killed by the man, which is quite a bold statement for a guy who's, the man. I mean, that's the whole thing. So part of the call I made probably about maybe November last year, I called John on the phone and I was talking to him. It was when we were wrapping up Battle for Compton, the editing on Battle for Compton. I said, I'm not willing to go quite as far as you are on some of your suspicions, but I can see kind of where the roots of some of what you're talking about with the government cover-ups and all that could be true because you start getting too far up into the police and you start getting too far up into the police cover-ups. You got to know that somebody's, controlling them. I don't think it stops at the chief of police of the city of Los Angeles, for example. I think that the city of Los Angeles has a city manager. They have a mayor. They have a city attorney. I think a lot of those have input into what the chief of police does, and that trickles down to the police departments. So I don't know if I'm willing to go, all that way to be able to go as far as he goes, but I can see where he gets some of it from. So, maybe he's smarter than all of us, but I just couldn't go quite as far as he went for sure. But respect to John. But that was going to come out in March of 2017. His book came out. I think there was a movie that came along with it. I don't know who saw it, but I think there was a movie or DVD that came through the book.
Much respect to John. John's a smart dude, like I said. Politics a little bit different, but he's a very smart guy. And I think there's a lot of truth in what he says about, FBI targeting different black leaders and how it applies to the Tupac case. I do believe in a lot of the stuff that he says. But there was something better than that happened in March, and gonna let everybody see what that was.
Yeah, but clearly the most important thing that happened in March of 2017 was that the entire Tupac world will be affected forever because the truth came out in a movie called Tupac Assassination, Battle for Compton. That came out in March of 2017. The Tupac world will never be the same after that. It will change the way anybody thinks about that. So that was, I think, bigger than any of the other events that we just talked about. 2017, Tupac Assassination, Battle for Compton. Gotta tell you, there it is, right there. Moving on to April 2017. April of 2017 was actually pretty busy in the year of Tupac because Battle for Compton had just come out and we started some balls rolling for sure. Snoop Dogg went ahead and he inducted fellow West Coast legend Tupac Shakur at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony in Brooklyn's Barclays Center. Now, wasn't there a thing with the Outlaws at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that
I think
they didn't let?
Tretch got booted off stage. That they were gonna bring out Tretch for Hail Mary, and they wouldn't let him on stage. I just want to say overall, the induction, for all the hype that it was very disappointing. As a Tupac fan, when I watched Snoop Dogg disingenuously induct Tupac into the Hall of Fame while grandstanding, and I watched the poor performances, it was such a disappointment for me, and I think that was one of the year's biggest, not the movie, but that whole induction process was the biggest letdown the fans had all year of 2017.
Yeah, I agree. It was supreme. Good seeing you. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll say Happy New Year to you. I know you got to go get some Starbucks, everybody. Give me some too, will you please? I'll take a green tea frap. That'll be good. Appreciate it. All right. So let's see what else we got going on. Let's see. We got that. Thaddeus Culpepper. The affidavit that Russell Poole got from Suge Knight's attorney, Thaddeus Culpepper.
The groupie.
The groupie. That's right. Thaddeus Culpepper. Russell Poole was following up because Mike Carlin had several conversations with this guy, and he told him that Suge Knight had read the story and that he'd read the synopsis for Battle of Compton and he agreed with it and all that. Told Michael that. He told Michael that in front of another attorney. I'm trying to remember the guy represented Michael Jackson, Thomas. The guy rep Michael Jackson. I can't remember his name. But he said this in front of another attorney. He told the guys at Controversial Radio. I mean, this guy told a lot of people the same story. And then Russell Poole, because Michael Carlin said, hey, why don't you call and you verify all this? And that's exactly what Russell did. Russell called Culpepper up. Russell took down the information and he signed an affidavit to the effect that he had that he had this conversation with Culpepper. This is what Culpepper told him. And, bottom line is that Culpepper tried to deny the whole thing, but by that time it was too late. Everybody had already said that, and that he had said that Suge had known for a long time that Reggie Jr. and Sharitha were out to get him. And we started to get some traction with that, and then Culpepper got upset, called TMZ, called Sharitha, called a bunch of people. They had a little rally together and tried to go out and make that thing, and that's where Sharitha was called from the car, all upset about the fact that, I didn't kill Tupac. If I wanted to kill Tupac, I could have killed Tupac, or I could have. Now, Suge, oh, well, don't say I didn't kill Tupac, but Suge, I don't know, maybe I did. That was funny because she's like, well, just don't tell me about not killing Tupac. Suge's another story altogether. So that was pretty funny.
I think it's telling, though. When that story went viral about the Thaddeus Culpepper, who was working with Tom Mesereau for Suge Knight's defense, when that came out that he had shown Suge Knight the talking points of 187, Tupac 187, and that Suge Knight said, yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. Sharitha Knight makes her first appearance in over 20 years on TMZ.
That's big, Jess.
They say, the fire sometimes bring people out of the house. And that's all I want to say. I think it's very telling that she spoke up very quickly and very loudly.
Oh, yeah. She's talking about she's going to sue people and stuff like that. And here's another one. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. These people, the last place in the world they want to see the inside of a courtroom. I promise you that. Okay. Next thing we had was the Mob James interview. I think it was the only interview that the murder rap people have actually conducted since, patents aside, since murder rap came out. The only other witness that these guys have been able to bring forward or interview is Mob James.
Yes, that would be correct.
God, what detective work that is. An awesome detective work, man. You guys put out a book in 2010. You put out a movie in 2016. And what do you have to show for it? You'd think if your theory was all that great, you'd have at least one other person that you could interview, besides Brandon, whatever his name is, and interview somebody else that might know a little something about it. So what do they pony up Mob James? Okay. And, and by the way, he's talking about how all Tupac was related to the gang wars, and apparently Mob James didn't talk to Tim Brennan or Bobby Ladd about whether or not the gang wars were really gang wars or just a couple of gangs sniping back and forth at each other. It wasn't no gang war, and it wasn't related to Pac. But, forget about the facts for a minute. That's what he puts forward. And then, I guess he seemed to forget that Orlando Anderson was killed 2 years later. And if they were going to go after somebody to get revenge, you probably want to go after Orlando Anderson if you were going to want to get revenge on the gang. And just a thought.
That's a point that I made the other day. According to Murder Rap, Keefe D and Suge locked eyes in the most homoerotic passage that I've read in 16-point font. But they locked eyes. Now, if that's the case and there's this gang war popping off, then why wasn't Keefe D targeted? Why is Keefe D still alive today? Why wasn't Orlando Anderson killed for 2
He's not even
years?
liked by his own set. He owes people money in his own set. I mean, why is he running around? I mean, that's why he's in Vegas. He's hiding from everybody. That's what that's all about. He's hiding. He owes money to people in his own set.
Sorry about that. I wanted to read a comment that was here by a new viewer named Dave Thayer. He said he's a new listener from
Hey, Dave,
Michigan.
welcome.
Shout out to Michigan. He says he loves the show and loved the movie Tupac Assassination Battle for Compton. He says
Yes.
there's a lot of good stuff in there. He had to watch it 3 times to catch it all up. Keep up the good work. I wanted to say shout out to you, Dave. We appreciate you checking out the live stream and for watching the movie, and we hope you liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad. And that was the thing about it. People were saying like it's all confusing. I mean, I just went and watched The Last Jedi, the Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. And whether or not you liked it or hated it, I can tell you for the 12 or 15 bucks you spend for a movie, you get a lot of movie for a 2.5 hour movie. It is just packed full of stuff. And that's the whole thing. When you make a movie for people, you could make a fluff piece like Murder Rap where you got nothing to really say, and you can kill an hour and a half telling the storybook, grade school, kindergarten version of it, or you can create a living work which is so packed full of information that, yeah, you got to go back and watch it 3 times. But you know what? Aren't you glad that you had to go back and watch it 3 times? Because I'd hate to spend $10 on something or $4 on something and watch the movie once and then think, what did I just buy this movie for? Now I'm stuck with it. It's going to sit up on my shelf. It's on my Blu-ray shelf. Jesse, how many DVDs you have on your shelf that you watch it one time and you never watch it again, but it's sitting on your DVD shelf?
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. That's my point. So the idea was maybe you should have to watch it 2 or 3 times. You get the general gist the first time. You go back and see what you missed the second time. I promise you, you can watch Battle for Compton 5 times and you will still get something new out of it every time you watch it. It's that deep. Trust me, it's worth the journey. So you can always make sure you get that. But that's the truth. You want to make sure that you get to watch it several times so you can absorb it, not be a fluff piece. What are you laughing at?
Well, yeah, I like my documentaries that have documents in them.
Yeah, exactly. I like my documents. Again, I never wanted Battle for Compton to be a fluff piece. I mean, we had so much information to tell, and my God, we cut so much out of it. But at the end of the day, we just have to be. You just have to be, it's a movie for big boys. What can I tell you? If you want to go watch, Dr. Seuss, go watch Dr. Seuss and Grinch for Christmas. That's pretty easy. And, there's an audience for that. But that's what we do there. All right. Amaru Entertainment, the company Tupac's late mother established, gets to release her son's projects, and Tom Wally will co-produce a documentary. So that was announced in May. I don't know anything about. Have you heard anything more about the estate documentary?
A lot of people ask me. I have been told, but it's rumor, that's where the Gobi footage is going. But that's rumor. I haven't been able to confirm that with anybody. I guess I could reach out to Gobi, but I haven't talked to him in a while. Maybe you can talk to Gobi and see for yourself.
Yeah, I could. I mean, if you want to see Gobi's footage, just jump on YouTube. Half people have downloaded it. I got tired of trying to pull it down for him. Gobi footage is all up on the, the All About You footage is all up there. Hit 'em Up footage is all up there. Just go on, you can see that. I hope they're not banking on that because there's a lot of better stuff that they can use than that. The first part of the A&E show, Biggie, was going to be announced to air June 28th with the second installment following on the 29th. A&E also announced in May that in June 29th, Who Killed Tupac was going to launch. So I guess it didn't quite work out that way, did it?
No, and that was still almost a year after they shot it.
Right. You're talking to me. I mean, my interview was shot in December of 2016. And that'll tell you, I mean, they couldn't even get their shit together. They had 5 months in the bag for a television show, and they couldn't get it together. And it was such a cluster from a management standpoint and a showrunner standpoint that they had to actually push their release date. And by the way, that's not a small thing to a studio or to a TV channel, because what they've done is the salespeople have gone out there and they've pre-sold all of the ads to run at a certain time in a certain place, and the advertisers pay for that airtime, and they want to do it during the summertime, so they want to put their summer advertising on it, and you pay for billboards and you pay that, and you put all this information out there, all this marketing that advertises a release date, and then the company that makes the project can't get their shit together, and they tell you they're not going to be able to deliver it on time. Whoa, that's a bad thing. The channels don't like that. Studios don't like that. It is a studio if you have to push the release date on a motion picture. You don't see it very often. On TV series are the same way. You cannot do that. It's a big, big, big thing. And what that usually means, 9 times out of 10, When a studio cannot meet a release date or they push the release date, Jesse, what does that usually mean to you?
It means that there's production problems with. I filmed my segment, of August of last year. So
Yep.
from everything I was told about the A&E show is up until the week that you saw it, they were still cutting the previous episode. They didn't have an ending there when episode 4 and 5 were out. They didn't even have their ending. That ending was faked and rushed, and it made them look biased.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, there was just so much. There was just so much crap going on in that show. I mean, it was just silly. I mean, they interviewed Little Half Dead for all of 5 minutes, just for long enough for him to say, "Big shock, he didn't do it." They didn't ask him about the album cover. Well, I mean, they might have asked him about the album cover. I mean, that's the problem. And Stephanie Fredericks can speak to this better than anybody. But they probably asked him about all that. And if he gave some lame ass answer, they're not going to put it on the air, because the worse that Little Half Dead looks, the better it bolsters our theory and works against the whole Orlando Anderson thing. So, and Yeezy's right. Omar Bradley, the former mayor of Compton, said that Orlando Anderson wasn't even known prior to the Pac incident in Compton, and he didn't kill Tupac. This is the thing. I mean, they keep talking about, the streets know, the streets know. For every person you have on the street that says Orlando Anderson did it, I've got 2 that say he didn't do it. Okay? So, it just depends on who you listen to. But that's why we don't listen to anybody, because we rely on what, Jesse? Documents. Facts. Not talk. Talk is cheap.
The last thing in May was the Mickey Rourke threatened to call out Punk Master Flex, and I would have loved to see Mickey Rourke tear up Punk Master Flex.
You think Mickey Rourke is as deadly as he looks? I mean, he looked pretty good in Iron Man.
I tell you what, he was a boxer. He let his face get beat in quite a few times. It's not so much of what I would be afraid of Mickey Rourke doing, is what he can take. I think he could still take it.
Oh, absolutely, and we should ask AJ Benza about that. AJ ran around with both of them. He'd know even right now if Mickey Rourke can still handle himself. But that was a good one for sure. That was May. And let's move on to June. June, the birth date month.
Jada Pinkett comes out on the 16th, Tupac's birthday, the premiere of All Eyes on Me, and she slams it. She slams the way that L.T. Hutton created the scene between her and Tupac, said it never happened, and she did that on the premiere of the movie. Later come to find out Jada is working on a project of her own. The next thing that happened was Diddy and Suge Knight will not reignite the East Coast West Coast war over the new biopic. In fact, Death Row and Bad Boy finally agree on something. Puff Daddy loved it so much that he gave his blessing for Biggie's Who Shot You to be used on the soundtrack. Now, a lot of people took exception when they started seeing pictures of Puffy screening the movie in advance. I don't know much about whether financially he was behind it, but it was sure suspect, and the timing was off, to say the least. SMS 130 said it was misleading regarding Diddy. Explain further if you'd like, SMS. I'll answer you, no doubt. To Puffy involvement in All Eyes on Me, RJ, do you know anything about that? Do you have any comments on that?
No, I have no comments on that. I know that he was, it was the only time they could get Suge Knight to agree with Puffy on anything. But then again, afterwards, that was when Suge Knight had the incident at Tams. So I don't think there was a whole lot of agreement going on about much of anything, to be honest.
And people, I just want everybody in the live stream to realize that these are headlines. These were pulled. These are headlines, so you can look these up. The next one is A&E Network pushes the premiere date for Biggie, Life of Notorious B.I.G. and a limited series Who Killed Tupac. It was originally scheduled for June, like we said earlier, June 28th and June 29th, and Biggie will now air September 4th, while the 6-part Shakur series will debut sometime in the fourth quarter of 2017, which we have now seen that it aired. But that is just showing them pushing the show like we talked about earlier.
They pushed it again. Here we go again with, can't get it together, so we got to push it back again. So that's 2 strikes, and I'm sure the executives in A&E were thrilled to hear that. Represent.
But SMS 130 made a good point. He said that Diddy agreeing to allow Who Shot You appearing in the Tupac movies no different than Hit 'Em Up appearing on Notorious. It's business. And I
Yep,
agree.
it's the licensing companies. Yeah, it's Universal. Universal holds all the catalog to all of that. And by the way, that's something you'll probably see on the Unsolved show. Don't be surprised if you don't start seeing some Tupac and some Biggie music showing up in the Unsolved show. But I got news for you. I'm going to break it to you. Jesse knows this to be fact. We're going to break it to you guys right here and right now, okay, that Valletta Wallace, the Unsolved show, she's being portrayed in it. I'm going to tell you, she does not support that show. She does not back that show. We know that to be a fact, that she doesn't back that show. All right. Now, last thing that happened in June of 2017 is that Kylie Jenner, we all know who that is, was bashed for selling Tupac T-shirts without a license. I mean, Jesse, who do these people think they are? I mean, they got millions and millions of dollars. They're just going to do whatever they're going to do, I guess, huh?
Well, I'd like to think there's a learning curve for everybody with copyright. I've had it happen to me, but you would think with their money that they would have a smarter business manager than that. But who am I to say? They got more money than King Solomon right now.
Yeah, probably true, huh? All right. Well, yeah, okay. So, moving on to July of 2017. Well, we got the New York courts actually halting the sale of Madonna's prison letter. Okay, the Tupac prison letter, Madonna. The court finally said, okay, you know what? No, you can't sell it. And so, I don't know, was that 6 months later? They said they couldn't sell it. And meanwhile, Tupac photographer, I forget his name, but he started suing Kendall and Kylie Jenner over the same T-shirts. So they're getting hit by all ends. They get hit by the photographer, the estate. Everybody's coming after them because they decided they're just going to print whatever they want on T-shirts. And they did. And by the way, Tupac's estate wasn't the only one. They had Jimi Hendrix's estate. They had several other estates attack them all at one time, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Jess? They had many come in, right?
Yeah, there was disputes. I mean, if you believe the garbage that TMZ spews out, there's disputes with Kylie involving her cosmetic line and all kinds of stuff going on there business-wise. Next was the Jada Pinkett topic, and then we have this Tupac Shakur biopic coming in at 1.83 million.
Crashed and burned. I mean, hey, listen, let me tell you, $42 million, if I wished I could create one thing that generated $42 million, you can't hate on that, right? But the problem is that it cost about $30 million to make the movie, and they spent probably, they say it's like a 3-to-1 average. They spent probably $15-20 million just to market and advertise All Eyes on Me. So they're deep in $50-60 million in the hole. This thing makes $42 million, and it is not going to even break even at that point. Maybe with DVD sales and some other stuff, it might barely break even, but that's the numbers, folks. You see a movie that costs $30 million, it's got to make $70-80 million just to break even. It's not a, hey, $30 million. That's just what it costs to make the movie, not what it costs to promote it, publicize it, get it into the theaters, the exhibitor fees, all that. That all costs a lot of money. So the fact that it made $26.43 million in its first weekend, okay, that's good. That's a great start. But then after that, within 17 days, it goes from $26 million down to $1 million. That's a 26 times loss, okay? So, I mean, clearly there wasn't a whole lot of repeat business, and that speaks volumes about a movie, because you'd think in week 3 or 4, you'd at least have, half that people still going out and watching it. But that's what I don't know. Did LT have diarrhea during that movie? I didn't know that. That's a new. Is that on the DVD? Is that on the behind the scenes featurettes on the DVD? I don't know. I haven't watched the making of featurette, so I couldn't tell.
To be positive about the movie, it did do one thing. It earned more than the Outlaws did.
Yes, it did. It performs, showing yet once again that even a dead Tupac biopic can earn more than the live Outlaws can. All right. So then the Defiant Ones came out July 9th. The Defiant Ones was an HBO documentary with Jimmy Iovine and who else? Who was
Dr. Dre.
Oh, Dr. Dre, that guy. Yeah, that guy that left Death Row Records and went off and got some headphones and met with Jimmy Iovine. And it's true that there was this whole thing about the the bail, and Jimmy Iovine talking about that Interscope put the bail up for Tupac, and that upset a lot of people. But the problem is that he's kind of right. Interscope did. It was Tupac's money, but if you really want to get technical about it, Interscope put up that money because the check didn't come from Tupac. The check came from Interscope, but it was based on money that Tupac had already earned. Okay. At any rate, Death Row Records didn't put up the money, which seems to be a fact that most everybody gets now, except for Edie I Don't Mean, who seems to still think that Suge Knight put up the money for Tupac's bail, and that Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre were lying when they put that out there. So that's out on the Defiant Ones. Overall, I mean, I thought the Defiant Ones was actually a pretty good flick. I like a lot of other rock and roll besides Tupac, and so I respected the work that Jimmy Iovine did, and I'm sorry that he kind of ended up and turned out the way that he did in later years. But he certainly he worked hard and started his business, and it's the American way, man.
It was better than the A&E special.
Oh, absolutely, no question about that. That's for sure.
But the biggest thing that happened in July was, drum roll please, Reggie Wright was indicted on several federal counts of money laundering, drug trafficking.
He was indicted on 11 federal indictments. Grand jury indictment handed down 11 counts against him. Reggie Sr. got 5 or 6 of those counts against him. Daddy-O checking in there. Nothing like a family business. You got the father and the son, got that going, kind of good time feeling. Family get-togethers. Hey, son, now to business. Oh, it's really good.
Wait a second, RJ. Greg Kading says that is not a criminal enterprise. Okay? That's not a criminal enterprise.
What's not a criminal enterprise? The father and son business isn't a criminal enterprise? Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, well, there's no wonder he's not a cop anymore. So, all right, let's see. But yeah, he was indicted on those charges, and by the way, they're still pending. I don't have any news. The last news that we said was that Reggie was sick. Reggie got on there, and he I'm okay now, and he's gonna go do a little song and dance for us, and sing a song, and show us how well he's doing.
Where's that interview bomb first? He was gonna call you back, remember, and do that full length interview. Waiting to see that.
Yeah, time's a ticking. Old bomb ran first. Let's see. Yep. So no, Reggie is not still without the ankle bracelet. He does not have the ankle bracelet on, and Dad and son can talk all they want to. And it's funny that Jay Gannier, welcome to the show. By the way, catching up. Yessie Alicron, yes. Gino Moten, welcome back. What up, guys? How you guys doing? Henry Johnson, Mike P, Mr. Jizz, Valentine Outlaw, Dion Williams. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm not getting the shout-outs out there fast enough like that. Okay, but, it's funny that they said that Reggie was trying to be Walter White. Well, maybe he is trying to be Walter White. I don't know. Maybe Walter White wasn't trying to be Walter White. We'll see. All right. Yeah, well, that's I wish Big Frank were here to see it, too, to be perfectly honest with you, Gunsmoke. I can't think of a time. Just honestly, Frank would be everywhere right now. He'd be all over the place, and it would be quite the show to watch, for sure. So, August of 2017. Let's move on. August 2017.
Soledad O'Brien.
That was when Ice-T and Soledad O'Brien were set to host an investigative special for Fox called uniquely "Who Shot Biggie and Tupac?" If they're gonna have to come up with some new names or something like that eventually. Who killed Biggie Tupac? Who shot Biggie Tupac? I can't think of a more blatant knockoff than when Fox stepped up there and said to the A&E show, "Y'all slower to molasses in winter. You're taking too long. Production problems. Everybody's talking about it." And so what happens? One of the guys from the A&E show jumps ship, runs over to Fox and says, "Hey, I got all these names of people we interviewed. How about we interview them and we put it out before A&E?" Fox is like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So that's what they did. Then they got Ice-T to show up so that they had Soledad O'Brien and a celebrity there that lent some credibility to the show. But Jesse, the Fox show did one thing that A&E could never do, and that's simply this. People in prison got to see the Fox show because it was on network television. It was on the Big Three network. It wasn't on CBS or ABC, but it was on the fourth network, which is Fox. And they get that in prison. They get that over the air in prison. Okay? A&E, there's some people with basic cable packages that don't get A&E.
That's true.
Okay?
I know that.
And so they hit a broader audience with the show, and it's probably where it should have been in the first place. But that's the thing, and they came out there. My favorite part from the Fox special was when Ice-T called it dry snitching.
Dry snitching.
Dry snitching. Reggie's dry snitching. I haven't seen a man so willing to sell out another man in my life and then clam up and say, well, you got to go watch Murder Rap if you want to find out why. I mean, all I was missing. You remember how Frank used to walk around with the Before I Wake T-shirt on and the Tupac assassination hat, and he was always kind of a walking billboard, always had that. I mean, why isn't Reggie wearing the Murder Rap T-shirt when he shows up places? You know, that's what he should have. You've been the head of security for 20 years for Death Row Records. You're an insider. You were there. And the best thing you can come up with is some third-party explanation of it, of why it happened. That's the best you come up with? Jesus Christ.
Why would I defend my honor on national television?
No, I just let Greg Kading do it for me. I'll go talk to Greg. He's the guy. All right, well, there you go. So that was the show there. Next thing is that we had the Tupac Hummer was back on the auction block after the high bidder flaked out.
I swear that thing is cursed. I swear it's cursed.
Well, the Tupac Hummer was, I mean, I think Yaz had that originally. Weren't they at the sellers? Weren't they people trying to sell
it
it?
went to Yaz. It was auctioned off on BET, I think in the late 90s, and it changed hands a couple times. But yeah, I think it originally stemmed from Yaz, and I know that there has been some action on their part to try to get it back, or it's a curse. It's a mess.
Even to this day, I don't think anybody still owns it outright, or whoever had it. That was it. So, so that was what was happening. That was August 12th, and then of course my favorite, Edie I Don't Mean, stuck his head back up again, and you know he was in that Biggie and Tupac special, and he says, "I think it's BS. Not only do I don't think it's true, but the timing is just weird to me." He said, "You got this Pac movie that just came out, and now all of a sudden y'all want to take credit for bailing him out." And he's talking to Jimmy Iovine there, and but when before y'all kind of hid your hands, y'all never came out not once publicly and said that Suge Knight never bailed Tupac out. Well, you know, bottom line is there's Edie, I don't mean. There's been a lot of people saying that over the years. I don't know what channel you've been watching, or what channel you've been tuned into, but there's been a lot of people that have been saying that over the years, including Adrian Gregory, who was kind of like his manager at the time before y'all were even anything to think about. You know, everybody who knew the facts of the matter knew that Suge didn't bail Tupac out. That's a myth. If your only reason for saying it's true is because nobody said it before, oh my goodness sakes, I feel bad for you.
Well, I mean, I can tell this. Adrian Gregory had a project called The Early Years, and I think he may be redoing it. But in the early years, it's never been released. I've seen a screener of it. You know, he makes a very clear in that. I mean, but like RJ said, you know, there's stuff going on behind the scenes that most of the people in the know, and I've known for a while too, just because of this movie, know the real story about Tupac's bail. And like I've always said, they needed a Suge Knight. They needed a guy to stick out in front, and they let him take the credit for that instead of because sometimes, you know, the truth is boring, and the boring thing is, yeah, Tupac bailed himself out, but it's more gangster to have Suge Knight do it, and I think that's always why that narrative's carried.
No, absolutely. I'm missing the comments for some reason. My chat got whacked. I don't know what's going on with that. We'll see here. But let me see if I can get back into the chat for a minute.
Right on. And I guess the last one for August is Shakur's former house in Woodland Hills, California, which is a ballin' house, went up for sale, and it is the most clicked property on Realtor.com. $2.6 million, a buyer can move into this estate and own a slice of hip-hop history. That's pretty cool. It's a ballin' house and all those. And I don't know if the price raised is just for the Tupac end or just because real estate there is expensive.
Oh man, that there is ridiculous. I remember when houses out there, even back in the day, were going for $300,000-$400,000 a house. Now you can't touch a house for less than $2 million in that same neighborhood. It's crazy. And the funny thing about it is most of those neighborhoods, those places where those places are built, were just junk hills and landfills at the time, and scrub brush area. But they made them really nice now. And but yeah, I don't think anybody really actually bought it because it was Tupac's house. I think they just bought it because it was for sale. And that's what the houses cause out there.
JM Kazi told me to buy that noise. You can Patreon my You know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't got it like that. I don't think I'd buy it anyway. I just it's a nice neighborhood, but I'm a humble dude. If I had $20 million, I'd do a Dave Chappelle and just move to a farm in Ohio.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
All right, so
All right,
September, we have September popping up, and
pop
that
it up for me because I
is
can't. I got to get to it.
Suge Knight speaks from behind bars and seriously suggests that Tupac might have not been dead at on September 22nd.
Yeah, that's right. So now here goes Suge with another thing. Now, and a lot of people have asked this question. They said, hey RJ, why why didn't you have that thing from Thaddeus Culpepper in the assassination Battle for Compton? Why didn't you put that letter in there? Why didn't you put the Suge endorsed your movie in Battle for Compton or they endorsed Tupac 187? How come you didn't put that in the movie? Well, here's why. Because Suge Knight's not credible. Okay, let's just put it out there. Suge Knight says one thing one minute, he says something else the other minute. We caught him on a good day when he said that he supported our book. We hope that's the truth. But then he turns around and does some dumb shit by saying Tupac's alive. I think he enjoys pulling people's chains. I really think that's what he enjoys doing. I don't know. And again, I'm going to take it on a step of faith that he was actually serious when he said, because the conversations that he would have with people like Tom Mesereau, the
Yeah, his
attorney for Michael
attorneys.
Jackson, Harlan, and Culpepper, and people that he's working with and want to do a documentary with, and people like that casting agent that he wanted to do a documentary with that he told that to. That's one group of people. Telling BET or telling, TMZ or telling something like that just to pull people's chains, that's a publicity thing. It's a totally different kind of audience. So I like to believe that he actually was being pretty honest with us, but then he goes out and says some dumb shit like that. So that's part of the reason why, yeah, King Third just should likes to double talk. And that's part of the reason why I didn't think the Battle for Compton should rely on that. I didn't think it should rely on the confession letter. That wasn't what Battle for Compton was about. Battle for Compton introduced a lot of new concepts and theories, but Battle for Compton really was to make the statement to say it doesn't matter what's out there. It doesn't matter how good of our case is going to be. As long as these idiots keep broadcasting the Orlando Anderson thing, as long as these guys keep putting out that narrative that has zero proof behind it, zero evidence to support it, and even when they try to put something like that so-called murder weapon out there, it fails miserably. And in fact, the whole thing about the murder weapon makes the whole Orlando Anderson thing even seem more dumb because 2 days after he dies, suddenly a gun gets flung over into Corey Edwards' girlfriend's backyard because the dog that nobody wants to get around, gets there. I mean, it just becomes dumber and dumber, and it just becomes kind of a farce after a while when you hear these crazy things. So we didn't want it to stand, but again, as long as that stuff sits there, it doesn't matter how good of a theory you could have. You could have it all figured out, have everything plugged in and figured out. And it's not going to matter because those guys are going to make sure it doesn't get heard. Because if it does go back to the LA City of Los Angeles, or it does go back to some liability on some officer's part or something having to do with the bigger picture, there's people that have deep pockets and people that could be sued and people who could be damaged. So, they want to keep it away from there by blame the dead guy. So,
Later on in the month, Pac got his own Snap documentary with Yo-Yo being the standout in it, talking about being at Pac's bedside. Um, I, f- I'm not going to discredit Yo-Yo because I respect Yo-Yo. I'm glad that her story came out. Danny Boy's story switched a little bit, but it's funny after all these years, once it starts getting a little publicity, then people start coming out of their underneath their rocks and they start telling all these new stories. And I believe my point of view is Oxygen was the beginning of the changing of the narrative. So when you see stuff like the girl's car was in the same lane as the shooter's car on Flamingo and Koval, the real crux of that, the real beginning of that was the Oxygen show. That's what started the ball rolling for the new narrative for the new generation.
yeah, I mean, I never had I seen a television show actually say less than the Oxygen show. But, the people in there that nobody even knows who these people are giving opinions about stuff. I mean, there was and that's the thing. The world of Tupac is such a broad canvas, Jesse. I mean, there's so many people that could be interviewed. Data Smith, Mouse Mound. There's so many people that can be interviewed about Tupac and the influence he had on people. But these shows keep going to this barrel of people that, are the furthest ones to even talk about it. And they do it because they're freer. They know somebody. Hey, you knew somebody who knew Tupac? Yeah, oh yeah. I knew the guy cut his hair. Okay, you do the interview. And they kind of do that because they got a $1.98 budget. But the Notorious documentary, the Snap documentary, other than Yo-Yo maybe getting some stuff out there, to be honest with you, I mean, what a waste of time that was. I mean, it really was. It's kind of like Tupac for dummies. And I think you're right. I think it did put the narrative out there again.
So, Biggie, the Life of Notorious B.I.G. debuts. Tim Brennan, Bobby Ladd make their appearance onto the scene. A challenger has arrived, and they say that Crips gang member Orlando Anderson pulled the trigger from a car in Las Vegas, and Reggie Dry snitches. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
Reggie Dry snitches.
Does it again. He goes out there and wants to throw Sugar under the bus. It's like that. The Biggie and the Tupac documentaries were filmed by the same company, Renegade Productions. They were shot at the same time, roughly. All the interviews were all collected about the same time. And then you take the interviews and they cut 2 specials out of it. And they were actually supposed to air back to back, one right after the other. There was supposed to be this huge lag between that. I thought the Biggie documentary was actually really good. I thought it was well done. I think he had a lot of participation from people that knew him. They were very supportive. It was a tight narrative. It was 2 hours, so it wasn't no 6-hour drug out, spectacle. And it was tightly put together. They presented some stuff, and I think it was a good show.
I'm not a Biggie fan. I think the big thing is Fox apologizing to the LA County Sheriff for the way they depicted them in Biggie and Tupac. That was the Fox special, correct?
Say again? Say that again? Sorry.
Fox had to apologize because of the way they portrayed the LA County Sheriff. And
no, they gave the wrong name. What they did was there was in the Biggie case, there was a detective by the name of Steve Katz that hid a bunch of files. He was in the LAPD. He was an LAPD detective that hid a bunch of the Wallace files during the civil litigation, hid a bunch of Kenny Boganey's testimony, and put them in his desk drawer. And he hid them because he didn't want the Perry Sanders and the Biggie team to be able to get a hold of him, the Wallace family to get a hold of the documents. Well, Fox goes out and they talk about Steve Katz, and then they show the picture of Stephen Katz, who's with the LA County Sheriff's Department and is an officer that's in good standing. Now, that's not an unusual association to make. And early on, maybe about 5 years ago, I tried to make that same connection, and I was like, hey, look at that. Steve Katz went over to the LA County Sheriff's Department. And I don't know, he's the wrong guy. If they had bothered to do 30 seconds of checking it out, they would have done that. But see, that's the problem. These guys race to put these shows together. They give a crap about fact checking, and they just put it out there. And this is what happens. It gets people upset. So they ended up having to do a big apology for that. So for sure.
Exactly. We gave Ben Crump Gaddafi's actual statement to the police that night in Vegas, and they didn't run that at all. They didn't talk about that part of the half-dead theory. So even when the research is handed to them, they drop the ball. So that's to touch upon what RJ said. Scapone 187 asks if I think that Daz knew something about Pac's death. I'll put it to you this way. I think Daz knows a lot that he's not saying publicly. I think Daz knows something that he's not telling the public, and I'm working on a Daz interview. That's all I can say about that, but I did want to answer you. Did you want to get into October, man? You're sounding pretty rough. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, my voice is starting to go. Yeah, my was it hold on. Yeah, I do. And let's pull it up. We're in September now, right? Or are we done with August? Are we done with August yet?
We're actually in October.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. October, please.
TV1's Unsung Hollywood features the Jeffersons and Tupac beginning Sunday, October 22nd.
And I always like my Tupac with the little Jeffersons, George Jefferson, moving on up. I always like those two together in the same sentence. I thought that was hilarious.
The second one is Tupac Shakur's stepdad agrees to move out of disputed property. When Afeni had her heart attack on her houseboat and passed away, she was in the middle of a contested divorce with her husband. And in October, it looks like the stepdad actually agreed to move out of the property. And to May Saul, do you guys have any information stories involving Tupac and C-Style? Discuss when you get a chance. I absolutely do. I have a C-Style interview up if you want to check it out, but I can do a stream about C-Style. Snoop responds to the Tupac alive, idiots. You know, my homeboy is resting in peace, he said. I know people still want him to be here, and they love him so much to where his legacy overwhelms everything. So Snoop shooting down a live theorist, which is the only thing I can give Snoop props on for October 2017. Suge Knight claims that Dr. Dre paid $20,000 to have him killed. Now, there has been rumors that just come out of the Suge camp that Dr. Dre was behind possibly the One Oak shooting, and even further possibly the situation at Tams. And Suge Knight's camp has put out that Dre paid $20,000 to have him killed on October 6th.
Well, I don't know. Suge, again, what Suge say? It depends on what day of the week. It's like Wheel of Fortune. You just spin the wheel, and whatever he says, comes out next. So, just always something more to it. Is always some new story with Suge. It's always something new. What's the next bullet point?
The never before seen photo of Tupac and Nas dropped on October 11th.
You speak to that one.
Well, that is kind of cool, because we had seen the picture of Tupac. I think it's, who is it? Redman. I've got it actually sitting on my desktop. But apparently Nas, this is a famous photo that everybody has seen, but he was cropped out of it for the longest time, and it looks like the negatives came back in October, and it actually had a picture of Tupac, Biggie, and Redman, all in the same picture. And then another frame had Nas in it as well. It looks like while he's at a crowd of people. It's the famous picture where he's wearing the black leather cap and jacket. But people got to see that for the first time, and that was no doubt a boost to Nas's ego, because Nas has told a story that Fatal is hotly contested about just what happened the night of the MTV Music Awards. Nas tells a very different set of events than Fatal told, and I take Fatal's word over Nas's any day.
Well, I'm glad you talked about that. I couldn't comment on that at all, one way or another, about that. So I'm glad you did. Moving on to November, my favorite, November being the Tupac pick month, which does show you again that a picture of Tupac gets more attention and more press than the Outlaws. It's true. So, the infamous picture, I don't know that it ever actually got sold. I think it's still up for auction, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a
asking price was $7,500.
Well, and then in November, the Who Killed Tupac Shakur finally debuted. Okay, finally debuted with a Florida attorney by the name of Ben Crump, who investigated in the end the A&E series. Well, but more important than the A&E show was the claim that Al Sharpton made. And he claims he negotiated Tupac's release from solitary confinement when he was in prison. What? Do you know anything about that, Jesse? That was news to me. I hadn't heard that.
No, that was news to me as well. I had heard that Jesse Jackson had gone up to see Tupac while he was in jail. But yeah, the claim from Al Sharpton that he negotiated Tupac's release from solitary confinement, when that broke, that was the first time I had ever heard of it.
Let's see. All right, so let's keep going here. We got to get through the end of the year.
To the final one on the 12th month of the year.
Wow. December suddenly disappears. Then it was found, then it wasn't really lost, then it was found. And by the way, TMZ figured it all out. Good luck. Thank you, TMZ. We don't know what you would have done to have told us that. Okay. But the problem is, again, it's who it's framed with. Okay. They keep calling it the Tupac murder weapon. It's not. It's just a gun. But it's not very exciting for TMZ to call it a gun. There was some gun that was found that Tim Brennan thinks might have been the Tupac murder weapon. I don't know how they can distance it. That's crazy.
Well, I want to ask you something, because I put out a video about this and it got a little blowback, some criticism. So, did me and you both or not put pressure on TMZ after they broke that story?
Are you kidding me? Go check out my Twitter account, the real at the real RJ Bond. Go look at my Twitters, gang. Go look at it. Anybody wants to know if I didn't put it from the minute that story broke, I was on TMZ's ass, Harvey Levin and TMZ's ass, and I was nagging him. I sent several tweets an hour out to those guys, nagging them. Every day I send tweets out to those guys, bashing them over the head about stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, we put massive pressure on them. And the whole thing about conspiracy theorists and all that, that was a direct pushback at us. So, we definitely have that going on there. So that, yeah, we did. And they had to, that's why they actually took the time to actually investigate it. Because why would they have investigated any further? They already had a sensational headline. They didn't need to keep doing that.
Yeah,
So,
publications do not like to retract or walk back their own stories.
no, and they did a lot of walking back on that one. So anyway, so the next thing, of course, is obviously the end of Who Killed Tupac Shakur at A&E ended with a miserable swan dive off the diving board into the empty swimming pool. And, we did a whole show on that last week, so I promised everybody I wasn't going to get back into that again. But it did end with a completely fraud ending. It was a lie, a bunch of lies, the worst acted I've ever heard, and definitely ran a narrative that was it was pathetic. The whole way it ended, it was just pathetic. It was sad, and I was sad to have been a part of the show, as were a lot of people. More importantly, Reggie Wright Jr., the cop suspect in Tupac, fighting for his life at the hospital. Now we go from Reggie getting, saying that he's got health problems to suddenly he's in the hospital. Look, guys, we confirmed it. He was in UC Irvine Hospital. He was there. When I called, he was getting MRIs done, okay? He was at that hospital. He had been in that hospital for a long time.
He even confirmed on the Bomb First interview that I was able to get through.
Yeah. So, you're talking about, he's denying in a Bomb First interview, but he also didn't understand, and this was what's kind of funny about Bomb First. Reggie didn't understand that we got all this stuff from Reggie's dad's filings. They have two different attorneys. They're not allowed to talk to each other. So chances are the attorneys probably didn't talk to each other. And meanwhile, Reggie's trying to keep this big secret about he's in ill health, but won't say how or why. Dad's out there going, hey, he's got this. And, look at my son. He's got cancer and da-da-da-da. So at the end of the day, don't blame us for saying that he had cancer, Reggie. Blame your dad. It's your dad's fault. Tell his attorney to close his mouth.
I got emails and calls in the middle of the night from big names in Compton. I am not name dropping. I'm not going to say who it was, that were like, hey, there's something going on with Reggie and we heard it's bad. So when we did a little digging, it's funny because RJ was talking about Bomb First. While they were conducting that interview, RJ was digging up the documents and I was posting it to YouTube. So Reggie didn't realize that we were about to post his dad's documents. So we completely blew them out.
That and Reggie denied being ill. Jesse, can you think of anything else that happened in the year of 2017 that you want to make?
Other than, some words out of the mouth of fake gangsters, and just back and forth on Instagram with Funkmaster Flex and Ice-T really taking it to the legacy of Tupac, making the Fox's show all about New York cats. I think that was the big deal, and the hype for the movie and the disappointment that it was really the big deal. But if you really care about Tupac, I think the biggest revelation was, I'm going to be self-serving, was going to be that statement from Thaddeus Culpepper, where, Suge Knight's talking to his attorneys and he's saying, yeah, they got this right. He's not talking to TMZ. He's not talking to NBC News. He's not talking to Ice-T. He's talking to his attorneys. And when that information gets relayed and it gets it gets people talking that haven't talked in 20 years, that is a big step forward in the case for Tupac Shakur. And notice everybody's piggybacking on it now. So as long as that can stay in the news, I think that was the biggest moment of 2017. As always, it's a pleasure having RJ on. I know you're sick. I want to thank everybody, all 100 of you guys and plus that are watching. We do these live streams bearing some kind of catastrophe every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we just ask that you let other people know that we do these. And WS62B said, did Murder Rap delete their Facebook page? No, they probably blocked you.
Yeah, they probably did. Gunsmoke Don asked, what was Big Frank's favorite restaurant? I will answer this one. This is a freebie. Frank's two favorite restaurants were the Cheesecake Factory, and which everybody knows, and a place called the Chart House. The Chart House is a seafood place. It's in Dana Point. It overlooks the ocean. It's on a cliff overlooking the ocean, and it is a very pricey place. But those were his two favorite things, and his favorite meal that he liked to eat was salmon. There was never a time that we wouldn't go to the restaurant. He'd order salmon. He'd not send it back 3 different times. It was kind of an automatic thing with Frank. I'd always wait to even order my food until the second time that Frank sent his back, because I knew that the third time they'd get it right, and then he'd be able to eat. But if I'd waited for Frank to get his food right, my food got cold often. So I ended up waiting around. But that was Frank's favorite food to eat, was salmon. He liked it with garlic herb sauce on it. His favorite restaurant was Chart House, and he loved the Cheesecake Factory, and we'd sit there and wait for an hour to get a table while we sat and caught up. So that's the bonus question for the day. I just love it because I love Frank and I miss him every day.
And once again, we appreciate you guys logging on, listening to the live streams. Share it with people, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 7
Tell 2
p.m.
friends. Always tell 2 friends. Tell 2 friends. Jump on the show. It's worth it. We take it. And again, you're going to get it straight from us. If you need documents, hit us up. Let us know. Whatever we can do to help serve you guys. This is what it's about. It's about you, not us. All right? Take care. God bless. Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.
Hey all, it's Jmix here, and I want to thank everybody that took the time to watch the video. If you liked it, go ahead and throw it a like, maybe even a comment down below. And if you really like my content, check out my Patreon. The link is down below. For $1 a month, you get all the live streams, unedited as soon as they happen, plus interviews in advance and other bonus content. The link is in the description. If not, you guys could always watch one of the videos to the side of me. See you on the next upload. One love, everybody.